Alright, I've still got plenty of 3/4 inch poplar board, so let's get to building. Alright, our next piece of beekeeping equipment we're going to be making will be bottom boards. I personally prefer screen bottom boards, and that's what I'll be making, but we'll go over the measurements you would need for a regular solid bottom board. This is one, it's almost finished. It's got first coat of paint on it, and then the screen needs to be on it, and it'll be good to go. Like I said, these will be screen bottom boards, and they'll be made for a 3/4 inch main entrance. If you use 3/8, we can talk about how to make that happen as well. But with this one, I'm going to start by building the floor, or what surrounds the screen. And I'm going to be fastening them together with Kreg Jigs. You could drill them and use dowels. If you got the way to put dados in and biscuits, that'd be fine. And really, with the quality of today's glues, I probably wouldn't be afraid just to glue this up and clamp it and let the glue dry and call that good enough, because we'll have railing on both sides that it's going to fasten to with both glue and fasteners as well here shortly. So if you just need to glue those up, that'd probably be fine. But we'll go over dimensions. This piece right here, which will be the part that sticks out where the this will be the entrance side of the bottom board. It is 4 inches by 15¼ inches. And then the rear is 2 inches in width by 15¼ inches. And then both of the sides will be 2 inches by 16 inches. And that'll give you the dimensions. Now, if you want to do a solid bottom board, all you got to do is either stack up boards or cut a piece of plywood to 15¼ by 22, and then you'll be done with this part once you get the piece of plywood cut out. And I actually, on a lot of them, like this one for instance, this is plywood. I cut it to size, and then I just measured in 4 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, and cut the center of that out. But we'll get this put together real quick and be right back. Alright, we got our pocket holes drilled, everything glued up and fastened together. I thought, I mentioned the Kreg Jig. That's what I use. I don't know if you were familiar with that or not, so put it out here. Check out their infomercial. I mean, it's $100. It might seem a little pricey, but being able to do these pocket fasteners as quick and as easy as it makes it, and the variety of stuff that you can use it for, it's worth checking out. But basically our frame is complete, so all we'll need to do next is get the side rails. The sides of the bottom board, you'll need 2 pieces that are 3 inches by 22 inches. And then what we'll do is we'll put a groove in that for the floor that we made to fit in there. I'll get the router set up to cut that groove, and I'll explain it then. Alright, the groove that you want to cut out on this board will be positioned here. It'll be 3/4 inch from the top. Now that is if you want a 3/4 inch opening on your hive entrance. If you want a 3/8 opening on your hive entrance, then it needs to be 3/8 from the top of this to the start of that groove. Now that's a 3/4 inch groove, and that'll be what our floor that we made fits into, and it is 3/8 inch deep. So with the router table, what we do is it's a 3/4 inch straight bit, and it is set for a depth of 3/8 of an inch. So 3/8 of an inch is how far it's sticking up out of the router table, and it is set 3/4 of an inch away from the fence. Now, if you're doing 3/4 of an inch, we're using 3/4 inch stock, so you can put it, in between your fence and the cutting edge of the bit, and that gives you perfect distance to set that at. Now, like I said, if you want to do a 3/8 inch entrance, then the cutting edge of the bit to the fence needs to be reduced down to 3/8 of an inch. I know those are the two most common. I mean, I'm sure somebody out there does 1/2 inch, so if you're doing a 1/2 inch opening, 1/2 inch from your bit to your fence, of course. If you're doing a solid bottom board, then the sides are completely done once you get that groove in. Now, if you're doing a screen bottom board, you have the option of going a little bit further. I personally don't do it, but what you can do is come a little bit below your big groove on the thick end, come down about 1/2 inch and cut another groove 3/8 of an inch deep. Now this one, you could be a couple saw curves width, about 1/4 of an inch, and what that'll serve as is whenever these are in place and the floor of the bottom board is sitting in here, if you're using a screen, you can insert a piece of Luan or corrugated plastic in that small slot. So if you do mite counts, you've got a surface that they can drop on, and if you prefer to close them up in the winter time, that sliding that in there will block air from getting up into the screen bottom board. I personally do not block them off even in the winter time. I mean, that's just me. And I'm not in Georgia. I'm in, let me think, we're in zone 6B, I believe, planting zone. So we're not quite in the Arctic, but we're not down on the equator either. But that's just the way that I prefer to do it. Alright, we've got the sides put on. I just glued it, put 3 screws in the side. Will tell you, if you're using plain lumber like I am, double check the thickness, because I went to shove this one in and I ended up splitting my board. But I glued it and shot a couple screws down through the top of that as well. Keep it in place while the glue dries, and that'll be just fine. So the only thing we have left now, really, wood-wise, is I need a block to go between these two in the back to close off the back portion of the hive. Alright, to fill in that gap in the back, we just used a piece of 3/4 by 3/4, and it's 14.5 inches long. And basically that's it when it comes to the woodwork. It would take a couple of coats of paint, at least 2 of good quality exterior paint, and you'd be ready to install the screen. Your screen, just measure 1 inch beyond each side, cut your screen out, and then I just use a staple gun to staple that in place. Just remember, it's 1/8 inch hardware cloth. Don't try to use window screen. If you use window screen, it's going to get full of either propolis or debris, and you'll lose any benefit that the screening would have given you. And that's true on bottom boards, anything that you make for ventilation or entrance reducers, covers, anything like that. Always use 1/8 inch hardware cloth. But we'll put our box on here. And there we have it. That is our deep super from the last video and our bottom board from this one. So let me know what you think. Any suggestions or comments, feel free to leave them. And as always, give me a like and subscribe.